What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Behind Show. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 tight ends the Bengals should be targeting in the 2022 NFL Draft. The draft is just a little over 2 weeks away, and it's very interesting to see, what type of position the Bengals will be targeting early on, in the draft. I feel like corner. If I had to pick a position we would go in the first round, it would probably be corner. But at second and third, it's kind of interesting. And I wouldn't be shocked if maybe we address, the tight end need maybe in the second or third round. I'm going to be talking about some tight ends I think the Bengals should be looking at. Go ahead and get started here. These are in no particular order. And first off is Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State. Jeremy Ruckert has nice size at 6'5", 250 pounds. Last season, he played 11 games for the Buckeyes, having 26 receptions, over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns as well. Obviously, the Bengals love to draft Ohio State players. They have drafted Ohio State players more than any other college throughout, the NFL draft. He's already used to playing in a 12 personnel system, which is good because, the Bengals use that quite a bit. So there's already kind of familiarity there with him kind of being local in a way, just, being about an hour and a half away from Cincinnati. Lots of Bengals fans are also Ohio State fans. When you look at Joe Burrow, Sam Hubbard, Eli Apple, Von Bell, and so many other players, who might not be with us right now, but used to play for Ohio State, I think this makes a lot of sense. And if the Bengals do not draft a tight end in rounds 1 or 2, if Jeremy Ruckert is available with our third round pick, if Jeremy Ruckert is available, do not be surprised at all if Jeremy Ruckert is our third round selection. I think that makes a lot of sense there. And if I had to pick a certain player the Bengals would pick if available, I really think Jeremy Ruckert will be our third round pick if available. Looking at somebody else here, which I don't think this pick is real likely, that is tight end from Colorado State, Trey Mcbride. He is 6'4", 250 pounds. Last season, he was absolutely fantastic for Colorado State, getting 90 receptions, 1,121 receiving yards. He also averaged 12.5 yards per catch, which is pretty good for a tight end as well. He was a 2021 John Mackey Award winner. It's very impressive, him doing that for, playing for not a big-time school, playing at Colorado State. Really shows, despite him not playing at a top-tier program like Ohio State or Alabama, he's, really, recognized, and he's, really talked about a lot throughout the college football world and NFL draft world. But I really like Trey Mcbride here. He reminds me a little bit of George Kittle. He's really able to break some tackles, and his yards after the catch is pretty good as well. He's probably going to be the first tight end off the board here. And I've seen some mock drafts have him being picked in the early second round, and a couple mock drafts have him being in the late first round. I don't think we should go tight end early in the first. I don't really know if we should trade back and get a tight end because I think there's some better players available. But if Trey Mcbride were to somehow drop to our second round pick, I would be 100% on board taking him there, but I just don't think he will be. Out of these 5 tight ends listed here, I would say that Trey Mcbride is probably the least likely to be selected by the Cincinnati Bengals. Another tight end I like quite a bit here, and he's also from a small school. That is Isaiah Likely, the tight end from Coastal Carolina. Isaiah Likely is 6'4", 240 pounds. He was first team All Sunbelt this past season. This past season, he had 59 receptions, 912 receiving yards. He also had 12 receiving touchdowns. That led all the tight ends in Division I with 12 receiving touchdowns, and he averaged a whopping 15 yards per catch. That is incredible for a tight end. That is not something you really see often, that many yards per catch for a tight end. He's one of those guys, if we traded back in the second, or, if he's available in the third even, I would be on board for us taking Isaiah Likely there. I don't really want us drafting him with our second round pick, but if we were traded back, I would probably like it more, but getting some more draft capital and getting Likely, who's a pretty good tight end. But this is an interesting guy here. Another tight end I would not mind the Bengals getting at all, because when you look at tight ends, Drew Sample, he has 1 year on his contract. I know he signed Hayden Hurst, but he's kind of a question mark. You don't know what you're going to get from him, and he only has 1 year on his contract. So regardless, even if one of those guys re-signs, it really leaves us to only one kind of reliable tight end. I don't even know if you can consider Drew Sample a reliable tight end or not. So with Hurst and Sample both having 1 year on their contract left, I feel like tight end is a very underrated need that we aren't really talking about enough. So I think some of these tight ends here, people should really start looking at some of these guys, because I would not be surprised if one of these 5 tight ends ends up on the Bengals roster. Another tight end here is from Wisconsin, and that is Jake Ferguson. He is 6'5", 244 pounds. This past season, he had 46 receptions for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jake Ferguson was first team All Big Ten this past season. I would not be surprised. Maybe we drafted him in the 4th round, or maybe we traded back in the 3rd. Out of these 5 tight ends, I would say Jake Ferguson is probably my least favorite. He's kind of inconsistent at blocking at times, and I feel like, in my opinion, he has the least potential out of these 5 guys. I wouldn't be mad about Ferguson getting drafted by Cincinnati, but I would much rather prefer any of those other 4 tight ends that I want to be talking about in this video. But Jake Ferguson from Wisconsin, I feel like is somebody else that the Bengal fans need to be paying attention to more, because maybe he's another tight end we might end up drafting. There's one other tight end here that Bengal fans have kind of been obsessing about these past couple of weeks, and deservingly so. And that is tight end from Virginia, Jelani Woods. Jelani Woods is 6'7", 275 pounds. Like, that is freaking insane for not just a tight end, but for any position in the NFL. Like, that is an incredible size to play a tight end in the NFL. I mean, you're going to have the height advantage no matter who is going up against you. This past season for Virginia, he had 44 receptions for 598 receiving yards, and he also had 8 touchdowns as well. His previous 3 years, he spent time with Oklahoma State, but this past season he was with Virginia and had a pretty productive season. Jelani Woods, I would maybe like him in the maybe early 4th that we trade back in the 3rd, or the 4th. I know some Bengal fans think we should draft him in the 2nd, which to me, his size is tremendous. He's tested phenomenal these past couple of months. But something I don't like about Jelani Woods, though, with his size being 6'7" and 275, he's pretty slow and is not as athletic compared to some of these other tight ends that I've talked about. I would say that's the big knock on Jelani Woods. But to me, if we got him into 4th or traded back in the 3rd and into the early 4th, I would be more than happy if we drafted Jelani Woods. But all these tight ends, I really feel like we need to be looking at more of these guys here, because I would not be surprised if the Bengals drafted a tight end within the first 3 rounds, because like I said, Hayden Hurst is on a 1-year contract. Drew Sample only has 1 year on his contract left. So don't be surprised if the Bengals maybe grab one of these 5 tight ends here just in a couple weeks in a 2022 NFL draft. Like I said, these are in no particular order. Let me know what you think of this list. Let me know some tight ends you would really like to see the Bengals maybe target any draft as well. That about does it for this video. If you're new to the channel, or if you've seen the videos before, I would really, really appreciate it if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time on the Sports Dude Hines Show.